I've been told to my face, you need to eat a cheeseburger. I'm like, I mean, okay, buy me one. Like, I'm down. I promise you nothing will change after I eat that cheeseburger.
What's going on? This is Tori Kravitz. Welcome back to another episode of She's with the Band here on KNOTFEST. I am honored to be joined by Arrow de Wilde of Starcrawler. How are you?
Good.
I was like so buzzing and you're just like, hello. I appreciate you bringing the calm to today's interview. I feel like that's not normally your vibe when you're on stage. So.
On stage, it's not my vibe, but in person, it's major my vibe, which throws people off a lot of the time.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of these artists who are like super theatrical and over the top on stage, it's kind of an alter ego situation, isn't it? Where like kind of a different side comes out.
For sure. And it's easy to like, I mean, you know, it's easy to kind of, I don't like saying acting, but when you're on a stage in front of people, it's like you can kind of be who you want to be. Like, there's been times at like photo shoots or something and someone will be like, act crazy. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like,
well, it's also context, right? When you have like a crowd in front of you going ballistic.
Yeah.
You know?
Or even
it's different
like
than
not,
in a studio
it's just
like
this. You're in, I don't know, you're just in performance mode. So it's like, I don't know. Off stage, I'm like kind of the opposite. But I also feel like if I was just like on 10 all the time, I don't know how long my career, I feel like people would be like so over it. Like,
they'd be like, can this girl chill the fuck out?
Please stop. Like,
I mean, to be fair, I feel like I resonate with that too, because I think anybody who meets me in person, they think I'm going to be super talkative and super, I don't know, like hosty kind of mode. But I'm such an introvert when I'm not in interview mode. It's, I guess, a similar thing of like, there's cameras. We're doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm here to chat, but I'm pretty quiet when I'm not.
What's your sign? Also, I hate to be that person.
Oh, let's go. Wait, what's your sign?
I'm a Taurus.
To be honest, I don't totally know what this means, but if you do, feel free to enlighten me. I'm a Leo.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm like a Leo Virgo cusp. I don't know if that changes things.
Oh, yeah. Cuspies. Yeah, that's cool. I have a Leo moon, which I feel like is why the stereotype of Taurus is like, which I am these things, lazy, stubborn, sensitive. But then there's also stereotypes that are like, they don't really like going out, they like to stay in, they don't really like being the center of attention, and that's where I'm like and then I found out more about it, and I think, you know, having those Leo placements is why I'm kind of,
you like the
I have
attention.
A lot of Leo friends too.
And is that why your hair is so sick? Is it the Leo placement? You've got like the lion's mane.
Yeah, that's true. Or just like severe damage.
I mean, you're rocking it. Whatever it is, you're rocking it. But this is interesting because I don't know how much I believe in like the whole horoscope thing, but I think it's cool to learn more about you and like who you are off stage, because I think that's like the beauty of an interview is it gives fans like the chance to see more about you and like where your music comes from and all that. But yeah. And I feel like even the fact that the context of being able to interview you in LA is so perfect, like for learning more about you and who you are, because man, the city has been a vibe for a music person. How has it been? I mean, obviously, like when you think of the Sunset Strip in LA and rock music scene, it's so synonymous with Starcrawler. But it's been interesting being out here. I was out at the Whiskey. I've been out at the Rainbow while I've been here. And like, what are your thoughts on like the current state of the scene around here and even in the way that you're kind of keeping the legacy alive of like the golden days, because it's different than I thought it was going to be.
Like, different how? Like,
well, I guess for the events I've been into, I'm like, whoa, there's not like rocker dudes everywhere, like getting wasted and like jamming out and being debaucherous, which obviously it's a totally different era when that was happening. But like, I feel like you're very inspired by that era, but like that doesn't quite exist now. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. LA is weird because I feel like that only exists when there's like an event happening and everyone's like, I don't know. LA is so weird where it's like you can't just like, which is what is cool about other cities like London or New York, is like you can kind of just walk around and find some shit going on and like, you know. But LA is like different where you kind of have to like, I mean, depends on like it just depends. But I feel like a lot of times you have to like kind of plan out your nights, you know, because everything's so spread out. And so everyone ends up going to kind of the same, like you'll run in, if you're like in a certain scene or a certain friend group, you end up going, I feel like, to the same places. And then if there's like someone you know's DJing, it's like everyone's there and stuff. And then otherwise, like if it's just a normal, you know, go to a bar type of night, it's usually like pretty chill. Like, you know, sometimes, which I like those. Like sometimes I like going to just, you know, like a dive bar or whatever, and just like, I'm not always trying to like turn up necessarily. But yeah, I know. I guess there's like that stereotype of the Sunset Strip. But now the Sunset Strip has turned more into like nightclubs.
Yeah.
Like One Oak and like that kind of a vibe. So if you're into that, I feel like it's poppin'.
Yeah. But for us rocker gals, I was like, oh, dang. That's that then.
Yeah, I don't know. Rock shows is a hard one because you have to kind of know the bands and like when they're playing, and like it's kind of hard to just stumble into a random show, like when you're in Austin or Nashville and you just stumble into a bar and like it's like, wow, there's amazing bands playing. It's not really like that.
You gotta know where to go here for sure.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, you kind of have to like know like, oh, whose friends band's playing, blah blah blah, kind of be tapped in. Punk shows tend to be more of that debauchery vibe, and you definitely have to know. Again, like you kind of have to like know someone who like sends you an address or something.
Right.
Because like growing up, you know, you'd go to shows in like Orange County or like Long Beach, and I mean, or like, you know, like random park. I remember like there was this fun parking lot show I would go to in like El Monte and shit. And I mean, that was also in high school, so. Yeah.
Times have changed.
I don't know, but you know, you kind of have to like kind of seek it out. Like it's not as easy to just like, oh, let's just, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, there was like, I mean, KNOTFEST fans would be stoked. Like Knock Loose played a little like divey record store the other night. It was like, if you know, you know, you're there.
Exactly.
And
if you know, you know.
Yeah, totally. So I'm curious too of like, the vibe of the current LA scene, do you find yourself inspired by that? Because obviously Starcrawler is so synonymous with this area and like the music scene. Or do you find yourself kind of looking back in time more so?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm a little bit, just because we've been touring so long now, I'm like a little bit more tapped out of the current music scene than I was before.
And that's okay.
I mean, I still go to shows, but like I feel like I'm not as, I don't know how to explain, like I don't know as many of like.
And that's fair.
Which I'm trying to go to more shows because I've been trying to, there's like a lot of cool new bands popping up I've been noticing. But it's kind of that thing, if you know, you know. So it's like, yeah, that weird like,
But a lot of your influences are so classic.
Yeah, I mean, influences wise, like for sure. I mean, like what started out, obviously, like me wanting to make a band was like, you know, the Runaways, and like Black Sabbath is probably like my favorite band of all time.
Great choice.
Ozzy, like solo, I love too. Like that kind of like a lot of 70s rock and like glam rock is what I first like really got into. Not like, I mean, I like hair metal and glam, but when I refer to glam rock, I mean like T-Rex, like, you know, like that kind of really bubblegum, like crunchy bubblegum, like 70s stuff. There's like this compilation record called, I forget what it's called. Clap, Stomp, something. I don't know. I forget right now. Okay. But it's like a compilation of like all these like Scandinavian like glam bands from like the early 70s. Like
so good.
Very garagey as well. I was really into that kind of stuff, which I feel like is kind of like that first Starcrawler record is kind of has that vibe a little bit. It's very like crunchy and like kind of garagey and stuff. Obviously like love the Ramones and that kind of stuff too. So it's like a blend of a bunch of shit. But then I also love like, you know, L7, Babes in Toyland. I love, this is like not fitting with the rest of the stuff kind of, but I love Ween too. Always forget. But Ween is an influence, and I always forget to say that.
And today's the day.
They're so cool because so much, like, they have so many different kinds of songs,
Yeah.
which I really like. Like, I don't know, they're really talented. It's kind of crazy to me. Like, they have so many good songs. But yeah, I'm rambling, but you know.
Well,
yeah.
well, that's music people though. Like when people start saying, "Oh, so like, what's your favorite band?" I'm like, "Oh, well, let me pull up the Spotify.
I know.
Let me tell you." And
I
then
do
I'll
blank
like,
out a little bit.
I do that.
So I was trying to think of something. I feel like I say the same shit in every interview because I'm like, I
you have the default answers.
I have the default. It's like my faves, you know? And then I'm like, I always try to think, wait, let me bring up something new. And
Thank you for a deep cut then.
I recently was
Wait.
like, well, because I listened to Ween a lot. And I recently was like, why do I never bring up Ween? Like, I listen to them all the time.
Sick. Well, now we know it's out in the world and you can add it to your default answer list. But what I like, I guess, so excited hearing these inspirations because maybe this is just me being like a little pessimistic, but sometimes I'm like, I feel like the definition of like a real rock star is sort of fading in the rock scene that we're in. Like it just doesn't exist the way it did back then. So hearing your inspirations, I'm like, yes, of course. And there's a way that you've managed to keep your influences alive in a way that feels so authentic and almost like I'm in a time machine going back to those days. I feel that, like I see you and I'm just like, oh, thank God. Like theatrics, performance, and like just true rock and roll. And I feel, and I'm speaking for your fans, but that's probably why a lot of people love you. And I'm curious, coming from someone who was not born till decades later, how you've managed to make it feel so authentic and I don't know, just so real in such a different time of music because it's weird out here now.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really think about.
Do you think you were just so immersed in that kind of music when you were younger and it's the stuff you
Yeah, for
genuinely
sure.
love listening to?
Yeah, I mean, because my dad mainly would play like, I mean, when I was like little, of course, I was into like, you know, Hannah Montana and like the Cheetah Girls and like.
Okay, let's go.
I wasn't like.
We must be the same age then because
I wasn't
I'm
like
28.
a total fucking
so.
freak. No, I'm kidding. I was. But yeah, like I obviously was like into normal like kid shit. But my dad and my mom would mainly play like a lot of rock or like. Also, I grew up, you know, just like around the time like my parents' friends and stuff like a lot of indie rock was playing too. Like my mom would play like, you know, Death Cab for Cutie and like
Interesting.
Beck and Elliott Smith and stuff like that. So that's like very part of my childhood, as well as like my dad playing like the Beatles and like the Monkees. And then once I got older, you know, like Black Sabbath and Zeppelin, like all that kind of like
I think it's great to hear
classic,
the
like,
range. Too.
very like, very range. My dad definitely played more rock and more like 60s and 70s stuff. And then my mom played like a mixture of kind of like folk and like she'd play Cat Stevens a lot and stuff like that. And then also like indie rock stuff from the time as well.
So like I, first of all, love the fact that you mentioned Hannah Montana and the Cheetah Girls and all of that because
I love the Cheetah Girls.
Yeah.
I actually begged my dad to buy me their CD, like begged, and
I still have my physical
it for my
copy.
birthday.
I was gonna say if you need my physical copy,
I don't know what happened to it, but I had a Hello Kitty
That's
CD
fun.
player,
because like there's
and I would listen to it all now.
in the rock scene, especially as girls, when you're trying to like have credibility and be a rocker chick, there's kind of that stigma that you don't want to admit that you like things like that too. But there's nothing wrong with having range.
Everyone's
It's
just lying.
silly.
Like you're lying, bro. Like you've been into something that's not like what I cool. Yeah, because I think that Hannah Montana and Cheetah Girls is cool, but like you know what I mean. Like how you say people like I don't know.
Well, you don't want to admit that you like anything other than
Which
the
I think
things
is
that you think are cool.
to admit because it's like everyone.
Authenticity is the coolest
also,
shit.
like, I don't have a problem with admitting that I like a pop song. Mm-hmm. Like I'll hear like those songs from, and even if it's not something I'd put on or like listen to myself, I'm like, oh damn, that's like, you know, like I don't know. I respect people writing catchy songs. Like I don't know. I was thinking about this is obviously like different kind of pop music, but it's still to me would be considered pop. Mm-hmm. It's like I was talking about it recently about Sweet Caroline. With my bandmates, and they're like, I hate that song. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that song is so overplayed and like it's annoying. But could you imagine writing that song where like everyone kind of in the world, at least in America, but like I was in Australia and that song came on, and the whole bar is singing, screaming, bah, bah, bah. Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine writing that. Like, that's sick.
I mean, I feel like that's the
cool.
ultimate dream of most musicians, is to have
cool.
a song that's so universally loved that
Even if
anyone
you hate it,
knows.
it's like, you have to admit,
We all know the power
cool.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even as somebody who is an adamant hater of that song, when it comes out, sometimes I'm like,
I mean, it's
ba, ba,
it's-
ba, because you just
you know?
can't not do it.
yeah.
So I love hearing too that your parents obviously were so influential. I know that they have their own lanes in the music industry. I don't really want to get into that because this is about you. But the thing I want to know too is, like, was there a first rock band that you discovered on your own where you were like, whoa, this one's mine?
For sure. I mean, the Runaways was that. Like, I knew who they were. It wasn't like I didn't know who they were, but it wasn't something that was, like, played by my parents or really, like, shown to me.
That's cool.
I don't really remember. I just remember all of a sudden becoming obsessed with, like, Tori Kravitz and stuff. But, I mean, before that, I definitely, because I, like, in middle school, like, I was super into, like, Bikini Kill and, like, a lot of, like, Riot Girl. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like that term. I'm not sure about, you know, like that kind of 90s, like,
Yeah.
that era of the 90s. Like Hole too. I again, like, knew of, but like I like listened to on my own. And like,
That's it.
and there were bands too that were like around the scene at the time when I was in like early high school, late middle school, and like Hunks and His Punks. I don't know if you remember
That
them.
one
I don't know. They were like an
missed me,
LA like punk band, and I used to go to their show. They're really cool. But yeah,
Those are
I
some
don't know.
really
I'm
good
trying to think.
picks.
Yeah.
I was like, you're like, oh, I need to think of more. I'm like, that's a pretty substantial list.
Really?
Those
Okay.
are some very good picks. Very, very awesome. And I like the girl power in that list too. Runaways, Hole, like
Yeah.
Bikini Kill. It's awesome. So who do you feel like they kind of modeled it for you, whether it was subconscious or not, of like your path to becoming a front woman?
I think so. I mean, definitely something creative. Like, when I was little, for some reason, I thought I wanted to be a makeup artist. And then, but I didn't have makeup or ever wear it. I just thought that sounded like fun.
That's fair.
You know, when you're little and you're trying to think of like, you always get out, what do you want to be when you're old? I don't know. It's weird that people ask little kids that, because I'm like, don't think about that.
At least you didn't do the default. I want to be a vet. Because
Yeah.
every kid, for some reason, wanted to
that
be a
is the thing.
vet.
I never cared about being a vet.
Neither did
So
I.
no offense to vets out there. We love you, but yeah.
Thank you for your service,
Yeah,
vets.
thank you for
Thank you for doing your childhood dream, making it real.
yeah. Or like an astronaut. I'm like, that sounds terrible. I'm sorry. Like, again, someone has to do it. It's amazing, but like, it couldn't be me.
I mean, you
I
don't
don't
want
wanna
to
go
go
into
freeze-dried
space.
food and like poop in a bag and
Space
float.
scares me. Like, people
Yeah, I
are
don't like that.
want to go to Mars, and I'm like,
Like, what if I end up in a space vacuum by accident or
just
something?
like floating around.
Yeah.
Like running out of oxygen.
In like infinite
And then
galaxy.
I don't know. I guess that's like kind of a cool way to go, but also like it's like so stressful. Like, I don't know. The thought of it, I just like don't need to go to space.
Yeah. So you went makeup artist, never mind.
Okay. Makeup artist,
Starcrawler.
never mind. Makeup artist, never mind. And then I did like a lot of like visual arts. So when I was into like photography and like drawing and painting and stuff.
And that still has a big hand
Graphic
in
design.
your stuff now, too, doesn't it?
For sure. It
Yeah.
definitely has helped me, you know, just even being able to like just make posters and shit on Photoshop and stuff like that. And then I wanted to be a drummer because my dad's a drummer.
Ah.
So I thought, well, I want to be a musician. So I thought, well, you know, that's probably what I should do because it's like probably genetic or something. And I I like took drum lessons and played for a while, but it didn't really give me that like passion. It was like fun, but yeah. And then honestly, like once I feel like saw like Cherie Curry, like old videos of Runaways and stuff, I was like, oh damn, like I could do that. Because she is an amazing performer and I love her voice. She's an amazing singer, but she's not like, she was just kind of like a teen that got like spotted at, you know, a club and was like, hey, like, be in this band or whatever. And like, you know, she ended up being really fucking cool and
Yeah.
good. I mean, they all are so amazing. Obviously Joan Jett, but I feel like Joan Jett is we know she's amazing. So that's why I always try to give Cherie
Totally.
some.
Totally.
Because, like
I
I don't
even
know.
mentioned
As a
like
front
Lita
woman,
Ford the other day, and someone was like, "Who?" I'm like, "Excuse me."
yeah, she was just cool and like I don't know, kind of just showed that I feel like you could just do it. But to
Yeah.
me, like I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't feel like I had to. I don't even know what I'm saying, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm bad at
Well,
this.
there was an interesting quote, right, that I'd read in another interview, and I feel like this is a good moment to sort of ask, because I know that when you were younger, you had said that you felt like you needed to be a part of like advertising campaigns, and the quote was like, you didn't want to be reduced to a clothing rack. And I was like, whoa, that's yeah. And I feel like that's kind of a testament to what the entertainment industry in general can become if you kind of go the wrong way or end up with the wrong people. So how did you really find your place in being authentic and, I don't know, just not being cheapened by anyone telling you what to do or who to be? Because it seems you really found your place.
For me, I guess when I started out wanting to be in a band, was also around the time I started getting like model scouted a lot. But at the time it just freaked me out a little bit. I don't know. It wasn't really something I ever had thought about doing, or that even though I'm like really tall and stuff, like it wasn't ever something I for some reason thought that I could do or that I wanted to do.
I mean, just because you're tall doesn't mean you want to be a model.
Exactly. It's like when you go somewhere and they're like, okay, so this was what it was. So like, you know, growing up, I would go somewhere and someone would be like, oh my God, like, do you play volleyball? Do you play basketball? And I'd be like, oh no, like I'm pretty bad at, for some reason people think that height equates to like skill with sports. And so they're like, you must play basketball. And I'm like, oh no, I don't. Like, I actually did in 6th grade try out for the basketball team because everyone told me you must be a basketball player. And be like, okay, maybe like I'll try it out. Literally had to warm up by running a lap. I tripped into the rose bush at my school. Got thorns in myself. And then never made a shot. And I was like the only tall one too. And the coach was like, I'm so confused how you're this bad. I was like, oh. So that was my short-lived basketball career.
And debunking that for the record.
But the thing is like people are very like and I know it comes out of a good place. Like it's not like they're trying to be rude or anything. But people would be like, oh, you must do basketball or volleyball. I'm like, no, I'm actually like really bad at sports, you know, just tall. And then they'd be like, no, you must. I'd be like, oh, no. Like, what do you do instead? I'd be like, oh, like I want to be a musician. Like, no. You know what? It just like was this very like, so then it made me just not want to do anything that's like a tall stereotype.
Good for you.
Including modeling, even though like modeling's dope. Like I have like an issue with it. And now I'm like more open to that kind of stuff because at the time I was also like still in high school and the thought of like just everything being on the internet freaked me out. And I feel like fashion wasn't as like cool. I feel like fashion's gotten a little better like now. And at the time I was just like, it was just like everything that I was, the certain things that I were offered were just not the vibe. And I also just wanted to kind of cement myself as a musician first. Before like, you know, because I always was curious, like, oh, obviously modeling sounds very glamorous and like it could be fun and stuff. But then when it comes to being in a band and you're a woman, it just felt like a lot of times it was very like forced and people wouldn't understand when I didn't want to do it. So I'd be a little bit more like aggro, like, fuck this shit. I don't, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And like,
it comes with age because when you're a young teenager, you kind of want to do the opposite of what everyone tells you. And so now, like, as you're older, you seem a bit more open-minded, but it's totally valid. I mean, this is like, I'm 5'2", someone telling me I should be a professional, like, limbo person because I'm short.
Well, something like my grandpa,
no one would do that.
Height
Why are
runs
they
in
doing
my
that to
family,
you?
and something I had used before in school. I haven't used it in a long-ass time, but he told me next time someone says, do you play basketball, ask them if they play miniature golf.
Woo!
And I've said that before, and it doesn't go down great.
I think that's really funny.
They usually feel really dumb. And then
that's the point.
I know, but then I feel bad because I'm like, they were genuinely just stoked that I was tall. So I haven't, but I also haven't gotten asked that I play basketball in a really long time. I think it's kind of like,
it's a kid thing, isn't it?
I think you can tell by the way I look that I don't do that. You know?
I mean, you'd be a really impressive basketball player.
Like, more strong and stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, it would be kind of
cool,
sick to see you play in those boots.
Yeah,
I think that would be a real skill.
Although I've played, at the studio at Sunset Sound, they have a basketball hoop and we play horse. It's fun. I like a good game of horse.
That counts for something. See? Maybe you are living up to everything.
Pro horse player.
And so something else I really want to talk about too. That was such a great answer, by the way. I love it. And if I ever get any weird lines about my height, I'm going to figure something out now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one too that I had, but I can't remember right now.
If it comes to you at any point, just blurt it out. You have full permission. No context, just hit me with it. But something too, this has just kind of been a discourse I've noticed with just generally rock artists that are kind of more modern, newer, is like we're seeing these festival lineups. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to get in trouble. But like a lot of rock festivals, it's the same headliners over and over, like these legacy acts that are always the headliners. And it's kind of, I feel like a bit of a ceiling for these newer artists to make it to those top spots now. And, being that you have a lot of these classic influences and you've started to gain credibility on like rock radio, and I imagine it's kind of harder with like the older classic rock demographic to build the credibility that these like headliners have and break through the ceiling. What has your journey been like in, I don't know, being taken seriously and even the fact that you've gained support from so many of these iconic artists? I don't know. I guess my question's a bit vague, but just how you feel about being a newer artist and building your way up in a scene where it's the same people over and over.
I don't know. I mean, we kind of just, make the music we want to make, and the people that like it are the people that like it. And we have a lot of, a lot of like, teenagers and like fans my age and stuff too, but we have like a lot of like older fans, like older like rock, people.
That's like interesting. I guess I never thought who your demographic would be as well.
It's pretty like, it honestly depends on the city. Like I've noticed on tour, also depends if we play a 21 plus show, because that tends to cut out a good chunk of people. But we try not to, but sometimes it's like unavoidable. Yeah, it's pretty like, it's funny because if there are like younger, it's like it'll be like all the kids. It's like kids at the very front. It's like a gradient of age. Like all the like young people are up front with a couple. There will always be a couple like. I mean, there's a couple like older people that stay up front too, and they like if there's a pit, they'll get in the pit. But everyone's pretty chill. But yeah, the oldest people will usually be at the very back.
Yeah, because we got back pain.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I am, 25, but I have back pain, and going to a show, unless I'm like fully, I feel like for me, I have to be either fully in it or like sitting down at least for like a good chunk of it, because I've been having the worst lower back pain recently and I don't know what's up.
I wish I had like chiropractic knowledge that we could just turn this into a
Maybe
different
someone
kind of
will
podcast.
Comment, like, hey.
Yeah. If you're a chiropractor listening to this, feel free to hit us up, because I could also use some advice.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all the head banging we've done through our whole lives. Maybe that's just
I was
catching up
once
to us.
told that I have a slight curve to my spine. Oh. So it might have something to do with that, but I'm going to ignore it for now.
That seems like a good idea. What could possibly go wrong by ignoring any back problems?
Like chiropractors scare me because like cracking, like the back crack, like when someone does that, like I can't.
It's really
crack
good.
My like thumbs, like I snap my thumbs and my big toes. That's it.
But isn't it so satisfying when you do? So it's like the same thing, but times 500. See?
Oh, but what if they like break your neck on accident? And it's just like,
I mean, my neck is still intact. And I've gotten adjusted a few times, but
yeah, I know. I have a weird fear of that. I don't know why.
I love talking to you because then I'm like, what was my question?
Oh, sorry.
I'm just getting like so into the conversation. I'm like, what did I even ask? But yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about like legacy acts. I actually would love to ask a fun
Okay.
question about this too, because I have like a list because there's so many crazy people who have like shown their love for Starcrawler.
Really?
Freaking Dave Grohl, Shirley Manson. Oh, such a fan of Garbage. Iggy Pop, Elton John. You've played with My Chem and Jack White. Like, amazing. Out of all of these kind of interactions and the praise that the band has gotten, has there been one that has felt the most enlightening or surreal for you?
I think the most surreal was what we did this, we got asked to be in, like, the Foo Fighters have this documentary about touring in vans, and they asked us to be interviewed for it, which was super surreal, because I was in, like, 2019, and we were like, what? We're like, okay, really, sure. And Dave Grohl, like, came to my house, which was also really stressful, because I like did a whole spring cleaning when I found that out.
That was
and,
my
like,
first thought.
Totally like hung up all this shit. I hadn't like done all these like little which it helped actually like get my home into the place it is now, is because he was coming over and my boyfriend and I were like, fuck, like, damn. And I don't know, just something about, and he's like so nice. Like, I don't know, something about just like he interviewed us like in my living room.
Wow.
I don't know. It's just like was a crazy.
I mean, such a larger than life, impactful artist in rock and in grunge. Like, holy shit. I feel like no matter how deep I clean my house, it would never be ready for Dave Grohl. Yeah. But was it chill then? Was it like a good, positive experience?
It was
and
so
everything
fun.
was
And
great?
we just like kind of talked how we're talking now. And then we drove around like, the east side, like in a van, and I don't know, it was fun. It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. It was crazy. Again,
That's really
surreal.
sick.
That's what comes to mind first, just because it was something that I'd never really, not that I thought any of those things would have happened, but just like Dave Grohl being in your living room is pretty.
I feel like it would feel like a fever dream.
Yeah, it kind of did. And again, like, so nice. That whole, everyone, the Foo Fighters, like, team, because we played with them a couple times and at festivals and stuff, and the coolest, nicest,
Freaking
like,
awesome.
people, yeah.
And I mean, what better, and not that you need any validation as an artist because you know what you're doing is great, but then when you receive it from kind of somebody who's been through so much life and so much experience and heard and seen so much music. Yeah. I feel like the longer you're in the industry, the more jaded you get. So when you hear from those people that they love what you're doing.
So many people and done so many things. Like, it's just, I don't know. So it's really.
That's fantastic.
Really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah. I still think about that sometimes. I'm like, damn, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
And I really feel like if we didn't need to start recording the podcast, we would have talked about it a lot longer. But before we started rolling, we were talking about social media a little bit and just sort of the trials of having to be on TikTok and do all the reels and all the things. And, when I think of like rock stars, for example, Joan Jett's a great example, right? There's like a mystery.
Can you imagine her making like, I'm sorry, like.
No.
And I like making stupid TikToks sometimes, but when it comes to like promotion, it's so weird. Like, I have an account where I just like shit post and like just post dumb shit that I'm not trying to like go viral for. It's just more like, because I was a big fan of Vine. I'm a very like Vine was like my
flew around
like
my room.
Just like 4-second videos that are very obscure. Like, that's like my vibe, and I wish we could just like TikTok and like bring Vine back.
I'm
like
so glad you brought up Vine. That's awesome.
So like I have like my own account where I just post like, honestly, that type of just like random shit. I don't know. I don't really care. But when it comes to promotion, like, I totally respect it, and it's just hard. I get so anxious about it sometimes, depending on what, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird because this is not something that type of like TikTok, like self-promotion shit is not something that I ever thought about like pre-pandemic.
Right. And it's something where you are the artist, you're a musician. And so it kind of is like it's a totally different layer of the job description when you have to start throwing that in the
weird.
Mix. Yeah.
It's super weird, especially because our last album was on Universal. That you don't understand how many times someone said in a meeting, just like with not even just like labels, but just like in general. So what's your TikTok strategy?
Ooh. Like, I wouldn't even know how to answer that question.
Like, I I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy to me that that's like more important than the music now.
Yeah.
It feels like,
well, because everyone just listens to things in tiny clips now too. It kind of changes the way
it's
that
weird.
fans digest music as well and consume
people
it.
only listen to songs
Yeah.
as opposed to albums.
And isn't there such a beauty in being able to tell a story through a track list? Or
Yeah,
just
I know.
have
Track
a
listing is really
full-
important to me, and I still people now are like, it doesn't matter, but I think it matters.
And if it matters to you,
Because some
it matters.
people, I'm sure there are some people out there that listen to the full album, you know, like, so matters
You have
for
at
those
least one
people.
who can
There's at least
attest to it.
maybe like 5. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Maybe 6 if you want to leave a comment.
But yeah, the whole like playlist, which I'm like, I love a good playlist. Don't get me wrong. Love.
Yeah.
But it definitely has changed the way like music works.
Yeah.
Like music industry works now.
It does. And I do want to loop
You're
back
not reliant
around.
on album sales now. You're reliant on streaming, which you don't really make money from unless you're like, you know, Taylor Swift or something. And touring. You know what I mean? Whereas before, people actually made money when they put out records.
Buy merch, go to shows, for the love of God. But yeah,
know.
yeah, it's just a totally different business model all around. And even you put so much work into a TikTok, and it doesn't necessarily equate to success always. Too.
Most of the time, it's
yeah.
like 150 views, and then you just look like stupid, like lip syncing your own song, and you're like, what the fuck did I do? Okay, whatever. I mean, it's fine. I like don't care. Like obviously, I'm not posting anything that I would regret because I just wouldn't do that. But it's still just like a stressful thing to have to think about.
Yeah. Well, so what I really want to ask about too, and I want to loop back around to this, so what you were just saying, like, could you imagine Joan Jett on TikTok? I can't. And I think that's such an important thing that made a rock star was like the mystery and just that you didn't know a lot about them. And it was just like, okay, you see them on stage
I know.
or maybe like
The
on a
mystique is
tabloid.
gone.
The mystique. And I feel like that was such a huge part of what made a rock star a rock star.
Yeah.
And to me, you exude rock star.
Really?
And
Thanks.
yeah, you do. And so I wonder how you feel that having to partake in social media impacts the way that you conduct yourself as a rock star and how that impacts the image when I'm sure it'd be like, I think it'd be really cool if I mean, I feel like you have a mystique about you, but it's a balance
Yeah.
now.
Well, also like I agree like that. Yeah, the mystique is gone, and I do think that's like important to a certain extent. Also, because we are such a theatrical band.
Right.
But I also think it's cool to show that you're human as well, like not be too like removed and
Yeah.
I hate using the word like relatable because that's so vague.
And it's also, it
goes
can't
different
sound cliche, but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like I do like having that element as well. So I just, you know, I mean, I try not to like think too deep into it. I just like post something I like, you know, I don't know. I just try to make it to, I don't know, just like if I think of like my band as like if I, like wait, what am I trying to say? Like if I was a fan, fuck, what am I trying to say? Like, I don't know. You know, like when you create a band, it's like your ideal like, oh, I wish I had this when I was in middle school, like, or high school, whatever. So I just,
You're being everything that you wanted to see when you were young.
yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I was like, how do I say that?
I'm not trying to speak for you,
No,
but I was
that's
like, I
perfect.
think I get what you're
That's
trying
good.
to say.
No,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good to speak for me. I'm not very good at speaking.
I mean, there'd be no interview if I was doing that. Could you imagine if I asked all the questions, then
It's
tried
just
to
me
answer
saying
them?
like and then you finish my sentences. I'm like, yes, that's exactly it.
I hate that dynamic. No way. No, you are as important to this as I am. However, another thing I want to talk about too, you kind of briefly mentioned how you were really into visual art and you still are, and it still comes into play. And I love your music videos and how cinematic they are and the horror inspiration, and just like I can see that there's kind of an artistic direction to everything in Starcrawler. So what kind of movies do you get inspired by, or even other visual artists? What's driving that side of things?
Oh God, I actually have never gotten that question.
Which is crazy to me.
Well, I've gotten like because I mean I love horror movies.
Yeah.
I
I could
but
tell,
like in
'cause
terms
you-
of visual
yeah.
artists, I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about that. Oh God, let me come back to that. But Movies that I'm influenced by, yeah, probably, I mean, a lot of horror. I didn't really get into it until later, though. Like, I wasn't really, as a kid, I was, like, terrified of horror movies. Yeah, I was, like, super chicken, super dorky, like, not that, you know what I'm saying. But, you know, it wasn't, like, something I was into. And then I feel like once you know, when you're a kid and you're scared of horror movies, and then so you just think, oh, okay, I just don't like that. And then, you know, at some point in high school, I was like, I forget what movie, but I watched some horror movie with my friend. I was like, oh, I just realized, like, I'm not, like, a kid anymore. Like, I'm not, like, I'm not.
Like, you're not terrified
The only
of it
thing
anymore.
that scared me for a while, I don't know, ghosts, like, ghost stuff freaks me out because I really believe in that. And there's something about a specific, like, when you watch, like, Saw or, like, a movie like that, it's so specific. It's not like I'm, like, in bed thinking, like, oh, God, what if that happens? I don't know. Like, what if the
Jigsaw comes to get
it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. But, like, something about, like, ghost movies, like when I occasionally, I mean, I haven't really seen a movie that, like, has fucked me up that bad in a while, I feel like, but
Same.
But occasionally, like, I feel like that's, like, I'll lie in bed and be like, also because I just, like, live in an old apartment, so I'll just be like, I have a lot of, like, kind of cursed items in my house.
I have heard about some of these cursed items
Really?
in other interviews. Yes.
Well, I don't think, you know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, crazy stuff, old stuff. But yeah, horror movies, I mean, Texas Chainsaw, the first one, is probably like one of my favorite movies of all time. I've come to realize, just because it's such a beautiful film, and they filmed it just like super low budget, just like a bunch of kids, like with cameras just like in the middle of Texas. I mean, it sounded kind of terrible and also kind of fun. Like the stories of like the making behind that movie is like pretty crazy. But yeah, I love that movie. I saw a movie recently called Talk to Me. Did you see that?
I loved
that.
It.
I was surprised.
Out of horror movies recently, that one really surprised me too.
Me too.
I was like, dang,
this
is really good.
I
thought
always
it was going to be
kind of
bad.
jaded. I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, I disagree with a lot of people. This has been a controversial opinion, but I do not think Hereditary is that like crazy. Like,
I thought Midsummer was crazier.
I thought Midsummer was a ripoff of Wicker Man.
Whoa.
I was just like, I've seen this.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of those movies, it's like, okay, there's gonna be a cult some way or another. It might not always make sense. Like with Hereditary, I'm like, none of it made sense to me. I mean, I don't know. I was just like, what? What is, I don't know. Everyone freaked out. They're like, this is the scariest movie since The Exorcist and stuff. And
it missed me too, which
what?
I'm scared to say that now. We're going to get attacked, but
I know people are going to be mad.
One of my favorite horror movies now.
That
well,
shit.
it's kind of horror, like Mandy. That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mandy's really good. What else? I was trying to think of I liked Barbarian.
That was good.
I was also surprised by that. I also liked the comedy like parts in it. I thought were kind of funny.
Another one that surprised me actually.
But Talk to Me, I thought was like genuinely like, damn. Like also the gore and the SFX in that like was so cool. Like they did such a good job. I always like sorry, I keep hitting the microphone.
I talk with my hands. I do it too.
I always think it's really impressive in a gore scene, like in a horror movie, because normally, okay, say someone gets like hit in the head with an axe or something, they usually will show it happening and then they'll cut and then they'll show the aftermath. So you like know what happened and it's still gnarly, but with Talk to Me, they show like the whole like, it's kind of like that one scene in Hereditary that's really like fucked up where like her head just gets smashed and you see it smash and it just looks really real. And they do that in Midsummer too when the guy like jumps off of the or whatever.
Oh, that scene did
like those are impressed like that. That I like. I'm like, those are the parts where I'm like, oh damn, like I just wanted more of that. I don't know, it's like fucked up, but I'm like, I just wanted. That's why I like Talk to Me because I was like, it just kept going. It was like, yeah, just like you know what I mean. It wasn't this like there's this slow build with those other like Hereditary and Midsummer and stuff where I'm like, all right, we've seen the flower. Like I get it. This shit's pretty. Let's keep it rolling.
And the thing is, as the bar gets higher and higher for shock value, it gets harder and harder to be shocked.
Yeah.
Which
I don't need to be shocked, but I just like, I don't know.
Well, like to be impressed.
I feel like when it's aesthetics over story is when I kind of like, I like a balance of both, but I also love like Blumhouse horror, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just like seeing anything. I want to see the new Omen. I want to see Late Night with the Devil. I'm curious how those.
There's some new ones for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could talk about horror movies for like hours, so just tell me when.
We're gonna have to do a part 2, 100%, because I love horror movies as well, and also we do cover movies on KNOTFEST. So this is fun. But yeah,
another one I really like. That's an old one. Off topic of the others. Qui-Gon is a really cool one. It's like a bunch of. It's from the 60s, I think. It's like a bunch of like vignettes, so it's like different stories, and that's like ghost. Like that was one that I saw that actually did scare me. When I was, because I saw it in like middle school or something. And I was like, whoa, like, but yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to think of other ones I like.
I feel like we have a pretty good repertoire here where people are gonna be like, damn, I've got a movie watch list now.
Or I like talking about new horror movies too, because it's just like I like getting other people's input.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Talk to Me. I did really enjoy it.
Yeah, I love Talk to Me.
Yeah. And I just because we were talking about shock value and like obviously your music videos, you're like covered in blood and all that. But that's not really where I want to go with this, but I'm trying to do a smooth segue to something I wanted to ask about shock value, because I don't know. I do feel, especially with things being digital now, people are always trying to one-up each other on getting the most attention or getting the shock or getting the, whoa, that's crazy. And as much as that relates to movies, it also very much relates to music and being a performer. And you, I feel, I haven't seen you live yet. I haven't had the pleasure and honor yet, but I've seen videos and I've gotten a lot of testimonials that you are an incredible, like you all rage on stage and you are kind of known for your live show and the energy that you bring to it. So I'm curious as to how, even amongst this race of standing out, you have found your way to have this reputation in your live show and who you are as a performer. Like, do you think about that, or is it just kind of what happens?
I don't really think about it anymore because it's kind of just like I just kind of, I mean, I feel like there's some show, to me, I feel like I'll be like, damn, I was kind of chill that show. And then someone will be like, you were so I don't know. But to me, sometimes I feel like certain shows, I'm definitely like, also because we have now songs that are slower, which is nice because if we do a headline set, now we play for like an hour or like hour and some change, and it's nice having those breaks in there. I definitely need that for that long, whereas before when we'd play 30-minute 40-minute sets, or if we still do, that's different. Like I love that because it's just like, I don't know, it gets hard to like, I have to figure out how to pace myself and save my energy for the longer sets. Like I remember when we first did a long set like that, I was just like, whoa,
It's a different beast.
So it kind of just, now I just kind of I just kind of get up there and do what comes next, do what I do and stuff like that. But, you know, when I was first starting the band, I definitely had ideas of, I want to be like this way and this way. And I just basically I just want to put on a show for people. This is essentially what it was. At the time, I feel like now there's a lot more of that happening in music, which is cool. But at the time, I feel like a lot of that, like, at least in California, there's a lot of like surf rock, you know, that kind of like Burger Records shit where they're like playing up here and they're just like looking at their pedals and shit. Yeah. Which is like not trying to like throw shade because like
there's a place for it.
Whatever. Yeah, no,
yeah,
whatever.
Sure.
But like, it's not that I like. It was just like it was that thing where it's like I want to see a band that puts on a show.
Right.
So
which
maybe I should just do that. See how it goes.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much, I mean, I kind of just like, I didn't really know exactly, like I didn't plan out moves or anything like that. I just knew that I wanted, and it helps, obviously the music was upbeat.
Yeah.
So I kind of just figured it out as we played more shows and stuff.
Yeah. I suppose as you get more comfortable on stage and find your lane.
Yeah.
And you've definitely gotten there now, no doubt.
Thanks.
Yeah. And there was a bit of a curveball that I read in another interview and I was like, dang, for being the like woman empowerment podcast, we definitely need to talk about this because well, that you had said in another interview that you were finding that you were getting more kind of like harassment from women than you were even from men. Is that still something true for you?
I think I was referring to, I get a lot of comments about my body because I'm naturally thin. I have a very fast metabolism, and there's a rumor out there that I have Marfan's, which isn't confirmed that I don't have it, but I think I would know by now if I had it because you tend to have like a lot of heart problems with Marfan's. I've got my heart checked out for that reason, actually, and so knock on wood, so far everything's good. But I do have like a thyroid condition called Hashimoto's, which is also contributes to how fast my metabolism is, and it's just like genetic.
Right.
Like if you look at childhood photos of like my dad, my mom, like my uncles and shit, like they're also like same body type as me, and like also really tall in our family. So I feel like it just kind of looks more crazy with the height, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I mean, it's hard to say, you know, but like with that, I was like, I get weirdly a lot more like hate. I'll get like comments sometimes from a guy that's like, oh, skinny, so like I don't know, this like creepy guy, like stupid. But I feel like I get more from women, which is weird and a bummer. Yeah, you know, just being like calling me like whatever, like junkie or like anorexic or all these things that are like really serious topics that I don't think, even though I don't struggle with it more bums me out. Not that they think that that's what I mean, yeah, that sucks, I guess, but it's more a bummer that like people are so comfortable like shaming people for that, and they like think they're like bad people. It's like that's like it's like a very serious thing that people,
or even to call that an insult when it could
like,
be something that somebody is
it's
genuinely
like,
struggling with.
If that was what I was going through, like why do you think that would help?
Totally.
Telling me, I mean, I've been told to my face, you need to eat a cheeseburger. And I'm like, I mean, okay, buy me one. Like, I'm down. I promise you nothing will change after I eat that cheeseburger. Like, you know what I mean?
It's just, it's ugly to hear that. You know,
it's just
sad.
crazy to me that people don't have any sympathy or empathy, because I do know people that struggle with those issues, and it's like really... really fucked up, and
it's not something you throw around.
Yeah, it's just wild to me that you even have to explain that. But yeah, it wasn't like I was like, you know, it's just like it was just some like an observation that I had noticed, at least in comments and stuff, that, you know, because we did post a couple like reels and TikToks that it was like live videos, and like the comments were all like super gnarly, like people like really, like people telling me to like die because of it, like, oh, she's gonna die soon, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, if you genuinely think that, like, I don't know, I honestly don't have words. It's just crazy to me. And it was just an observation that I noticed, that it's interesting that it's a lot of women, because I feel like it's like, I don't know, it's just like I feel like women should be doing the like supporting each other, and it's like just commenting on anyone's body in general is kind of wild to me. You know, like also like, why do you care? Like, why does this affect you?
Totally. And I mean,
and then people will comment on if I post like a photo of myself, you know, where like I'm showing my body and stuff like that. There'll be people that are like, this triggers me, and I'm like, so I'm not allowed to post myself because of like, it's like,
that's not your problem.
So I just don't understand why my body or people's bodies in general need to come with like a PSA.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, it's not need. Just scroll. Just keep scrolling.
And it's like you talk so much about body positivity in terms of like plus size, and I understand that, but I think it kind of goes for any body type. Like body positivity is inclusive of anyone. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to comment on anyone's body, no matter the size or the situation or what you think that they're struggling with. It's just not, I would never it's crazy that anyone is comfortable, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and especially because I look at
crazy
you
to
and
me.
I'm just like, you're beautiful. You're beautiful, and as long as you're healthy, who freaking cares, you know? So
Yeah,
but I also like I brought that up too because this podcast so often we end up talking about like, oh, men and misogyny and this and that. And I was like,
which is
whoa, but sometimes
thing,
it goes the other
course.
way where it's like we're
goes-
women and it's
yeah.
already a boy's scene and it's already hard
it's just
enough.
more of a bummer. I think
and
that's
it's
why.
like, why aren't we joining together and being kind? Like, it's not hard. It costs nothing.
It's like
and
you kind of expect it from men. I guess that's what it is. It's like,
it's expected from men and it's very shocking
which
from
is
women.
sad.
And,
yeah,
but
that's why it's more shocking. I think that's why I brought it up too, is because it's like you sadly kind of do expect that. Just like crazy, like dudes on the internet comment the craziest shit. You know what I mean? But I kind of like.
But
you
as
know.
someone who was like vehemently bullied by women in high school, it's like I thought we would have grown up by now. I thought we
The
would have
thing is
gotten
also
past that
when
too.
women comment shit, it's like more like a personal attack. Like that's not.
We have a way with words.
I don't know. It's like it's just weird.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to commenting on like when it comes to music, this stuff for sure. Like whatever, like that's your opinion, like whatever. But for some reason, like the body shit is really just what.
Yeah.
It's just more annoying in general because I've had that happen my whole life. Like as a kid, you know, people would be like, "Your mom doesn't feed you enough," that kind of classic shit, you know. So it's not something that like really like messes me up when people say it. It mainly like really bums me out because if I was struggling with one of those issues, like it's just really disheartening that people are I don't know how to just like so fucked up. Like it's just like so inhumane to I mean, I've been asked to my face, like even in high school, like, are you anorexic? And like
Whoa.
a lot of times they're like genuinely like asking, I guess, but it's like,
How are you even supposed to?
do you expect me to
answer
be
that?
like, okay, oh yeah, actually, like, I don't know. It's just crazy that you even have to explain. That's why I keep like stopping what I'm saying because it's crazy. It's like, it feels like so self-explanatory to not
Totally.
say that to somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like people don't realize how serious. They think also like you can just like eat something and it's all like I don't know. People just don't understand. Like I feel like the gravity of those issues and it. I feel like it's not talked about enough how people just don't view people that struggle with eating disorders or addiction as like human beings. Mm-hmm. You know?
Like they are legitimate health conditions just like any other illness would be. And it's not necessarily treated as such because people think there's a choice in that.
Yeah.
But it's not. But yeah, I really brought this up too because I do think it's really important to talk about it because it is quite taboo and no one really does. But in a way of hopefully this is productive of anybody who's listening. I hope you know, just be better, do better, think before you comment. There's someone on the other
Or
side
just
of the
like,
screen.
don't comment.
Or
like,
yeah,
I've never
just delete
commented
your
on like
account.
a random post. Honestly, I think about that. I'm like
Yeah.
commenting on like a random reel or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just don't have time. But no shade. I mean, y'all.
It's just weird. Like you could have just also like just kept scrolling.
Or it's the classic, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. Period.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, is there anything else you want to say on this as far as like anything that you think, I mean, other than just don't comment that could maybe improve this for yourself and others? I'm trying to think of this in like a productive way, you know?
I think people just need to have more empathy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to have to explain that you shouldn't like say really fucked up shit to somebody. Yeah.
And what's sad is probably what they are saying is more of a reflection of how they feel about themselves than anything else. But at the same time, you still are on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of the
just check
fake,
yourself.
like, I'm concerned. I'm just concerned.
No.
That's why I'm saying all this fucked up shit. I'm just concerned. And like, I'm just concerned that you're gonna die. I'm like, why are you concerned? You don't know me. I'm just some random bitch that you saw on your like For You page. Like, you don't have to be concerned about me. Mm-hmm. Just like move on. Like, maybe worry about yourself. Like, you're probably dehydrated. I don't know.
Drink some water.
Drink some water. Like, touch some grass. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen to the Cheetah Girls. Like, it's not my problem.
Dude, self-care. And then maybe, you know what, maybe
Like,
self-care
don't
will
say
solve all of
fucked up
this.
shit to people.
Yeah. Well,
no.
Thank you for sharing though, because it's a really hard conversation, and
Yeah.
having lived my entire existence on the internet since I was a teenager doing these interviews, I've also been through a lot of this too. So I send you love, and I send you, good vibes that this clears and just people get some common sense.
I mean, it never will clear, but it's just more that I just wish people weren't so comfortable just being fucking
like
fucked
just
up.
focus on the fact that you're beautiful and talented and an incredible musician, and let's focus on that, period. I would drop the mic, but it is on the
or just comment on the music, like be like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Whatever, or I don't know, whatever. But
yeah. Well, speaking of, you're kind of working on some stuff, but nothing's in the works yet. Like nothing's planned, but
yeah, we're just kind of like recording right now. So,
well, new ideas are brewing. I look forward to that, by the way.
you.
It's been a hot minute since we've heard new Starcrawler music. So
Yeah.
I'm always on the lookout.
Okay, cool.
So
Good.
I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Well, so we end every episode of She's of the Band with 4 jaw-dropping questions, rapid fire.
Cool.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
I know. I'm like, after all of that, let's just end on a fun note, hopefully.
Yeah.
So the first one here is, what is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show?
Oh God, wait, rapid fire. That's hard.
Well, whatever comes to mind first.
Honestly, playing Japan. I feel like I say this in so many interviews, but I just like it comes to mind first because, they go so crazy. Mm-hmm.
Well, they probably don't get a lot of shows, from across
traveling acts.
other,
For sure. Yeah, they're super grateful. I mean, honestly, anywhere but like big major cities, I feel like are like that. Like, like when you play a small town, even in America, I feel like they're so much more stoked.
Big occasion.
Not like all the time, but you know what I mean? It's like, because I don't know. I feel like people in like bigger cities are more jaded. They're like, oh, I couldn't go see them next time they play here.
Yeah.
Which is cool. As someone from LA, like, I'm sure I'm guilty of that as well. But,
I've been like that with Deftones for so many years, and I still have never seen them live because I keep doing the next time.
Right.
Now I'm cursed.
I'm sure they'll play soon. But
anyways.
But I always think of this one show in Nagoya, which is it's a major city, but it's like small. It's like a smaller town than obviously like Tokyo and stuff. And we played this was like 2018. We played this like little punk club, and I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. But they went so crazy. Like the whole, normally it's just like the very front, or like a lot of times the front will be a pit, and then it's like people say, it's like the whole place was just like swarming. Also like really tiny, so it was just crazy. It just felt like the energy was like so, everyone was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And like they were going nuts, man. Like there's this one guy, and I don't like condone this, but it just comes to mind because it was probably the craziest thing that's happened, where he was like going so nuts. He was like, yeah, and he started like bashing his head into the wall. Because I at the time was spitting fake blood. I'm like, and then I was like, damn, dude, you upstaged me. And he had like blood coming down and stuff. He was like fine. Like, ambulance came and everything. We were like, kind of like, what the hell? That never happened. We had like pits and stuff like that. But like, I was like next level, like, you know what I mean? And so I always think of that just because it was like pretty crazy.
That is really nuts.
And I was like, I respect your enthusiasm, but like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's a mixed reaction for sure.
Yeah. But, and he was so stoked. Like, he was just like screaming the whole time. It was great. There was like, everyone was, I don't know. It's just so cool to be able to play out there too. So I just like, so cool.
Oh, that's really rad.
Like, yeah, the fans out there, the way they're like dedicated and excited, and yeah, again, like super grateful. It's like really cool to see. And like they do buy albums out there more so than streaming. I don't know about still, but I feel like still, because last time I was there, Tower Records is still a thing, and they'll like line up to buy the new CD of, whatever, like you know, whatever pop group, anything. Like they like buy the physical copy.
That's really cool. There's
Which I
something
feel
about
like
that like event of buying an album.
Yeah, and CDs are live there more so than I feel like vinyl's more of a collector's thing out there. Whereas I feel like here it's kind of both the collector's thing and people are like really into it. Like I feel like here CDs are kind of dead. It's like vinyl or streaming.
I have a CD case in my car.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no, records are way cooler. For sure.
I like CDs, but it's just like as a band that like has them and like sells more, like they sell, but like they sell like last. Like vinyl goes first, which is cool, dope. But like out there, CDs are like it. Like it's still like that's what you like wait in line for Tower to buy like the new like whatever, like, you know.
That's really cool to hear rock scene's alive and well.
It is.
In Japan. Yeah. Well, next one we have here.
Okay, sorry, that wasn't rapid fire. I'm bad at rapid fire.
It's cool. It was a great answer. And I like hearing about Japan because, you know, everybody has cool stories over there. But the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson that you learned from it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like affect my career or anything, but I learned how to land a jump properly off a high stage.
See, that's important though. So how did you learn the bad way? What happened?
So we played this festival. Which one was it? It was Rock im Park. It's a festival in Germany because there's two. There's Rock im Ring and Rock im Park, and we played both of them. This one was Rock im Park because it was at Nuremberg, which is like this big like stadium in the middle of nowhere in Germany, like World War II era, like or super old and shit. It was like kind of a weird ass vibe, honestly. But the show was like fun, like the crowd was like great and stuff. Like that wasn't the issue. But I didn't realize how high that stage was. It didn't look. I jumped because you know how like you know a festival there's a stage and then there's like the space between the barricade.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times because there's that they feel so far away. It's like I can't really. It's hard to always if it's a really high stage be like interacting with the people like you do at a normal show. So I'll usually like at the end I'll like exit by going down and I'll either like crowd surf or I'll just like you know. And then like run off to the side and like go backstage or whatever and like end a show. So that was my plan because it was too far for me to like, you know, sometimes during the show you can kind of like, you know, whatever. But so I jumped off and landed right on my knee.
Ooh.
And was just like on the floor like, like it was so not cool too because I was like trying to make this badass exit and then I just was like on the floor like, oh my God, like I didn't break. I don't know. It felt crazy, but ended up being fine. But I had to go to the hospital because it felt gnarly. Like I couldn't really walk on it for a while.
Wow.
For like at least like a week on tour. Like, and I went to this hospital that was like really old, really scary. Like honestly, it felt like a hospital in like a horror movie because I was like, they wouldn't let like in my bandmates like my TM come with me which like makes sense, you know, when you're like in the hospital, like there's like a period where you're just kind of like by yourself, whatever, I don't know. But I was like in the hallway in like a roller bed and the light was like flickering like on, I don't know, it felt like one of those like hospital horror movies or some shit, like light was all flickering. It was really old looking in there. I don't know how to explain it. And there was just this like woman behind me in a bed like screaming.
Oh.
Which is like, she wasn't like screaming at me or anything, but it just was like, I was just like, oh my God. It was just like a surreal situation where and like the doctors were all being like, the nurses were all being like mean to her and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I don't know why. It was just like, I was so scared. But it ended up being fine. I didn't break anything.
And you were like, we're going to land on the knee properly now. So
yeah,
we don't end up back in that hospital.
That was a really long-winded story of me saying that I learned how to jump properly, how to land. Also, once I landed, accidentally, didn't mean to do this, but I landed locking my knees. That sucks.
Yep. You got to keep the knees slightly bent.
That sucks really bad.
Sure. My like personal trainer side showing. I think of it like
Spider-Man, like when you jump, like some kung fu shit. Like not even like because it like of the way it looks. It's just that's just how you won't like shatter your fucking knees.
No taken.
I'm glad I didn't because
That would have been.
It felt like I did, but it was fine. And the doctor ended up being really nice. Like I was really scared because it again felt like a horror movie in there. You know, it was just like, it's just like comically, just like felt like a horror movie. Also, like the nurses had like those. I feel like I was in like a dream because they had those like old school outfits with the little bonnets and stuff.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I was like, am I in like the Twilight Zone or something? It was crazy. It was kind of cool though. There's something interesting about experiencing hospitals and other places.
Yeah, a foreign hospital.
Yeah.
And the
I
next
don't know why. It's interesting.
And, well, they're all so different
They're all
for
so
sure. And the next one we have here is the most jaw-dropping female artist you'd love to work with.
Oh god, that's so hard. Oh my god. I mean, Joan Jett would be really cool.
Yeah.
Again, because like Runaways is like, I mean, come on.
I mean, that would be a powerhouse collab, 100%.
And I did meet Cherie. Mm-hmm. We did like a shoot together for this photographer, Brad Elterman, who shot a lot of the old Runaway stuff. He had this like zine, and he kind of set it up because he like knew I was like a big fan and stuff. And we did a shoot at her house, and so I got to hang out with her. That was cool. But yeah, Joan Jett would be cool. I don't know why I'm blanking.
I mean, that's
stuff,
a perfect
but
answer. You got it.
That's what comes to mind first.
Yeah. No, that's that. Okay, let's put that out in the universe. I love it. And
hey, Joan.
Hey, Joan.
What's up?
Dude, she's watching this podcast. I'm going to lose my mind. And the last one we have here, the most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood.
I don't really give a shit what people think. It's more just, again, like
Yeah.
the fucking, like, be a decent human being type shit. But,
And I suppose we were saying, too, about the mystique of a rock star. Any rock star comes with misconception. That's part of what makes a rock star, too. So, yeah,
and,
that's fair.
I mean, I do think, like, people think that I have some crazy, like, because of the way I act on stage, that they, like, I feel like people do think I'm probably like that all the time. And that I'm, like, I don't know, some crazy fucking, like, party animal or something, which would be dope, but I feel like that's probably a misconception.
Yeah. Well, I think
I don't
generally,
know.
like, anyone in the rock scene, you expect them to be, like, out at the bars,
Yeah.
partying all the time, but
I mean, I go
that's
out
not-
a lot, but
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. You're not that character. Well, I don't want to say character, but, like, that version.
I'm not like fucking like, yeah.
You're not, like, jumping on top of the bar.
Yeah.
And shit. Yeah. Well, that's totally true. But I'm really glad to have seen this version of you today because you are amazing. And it has been so cool having you on. Thank you so much, Arrow.
Thank you.
Yeah. And everybody watching, check out Starcrawler. First of all, where have you been if you haven't already? I feel like we've learned a lot today. But yeah, appreciate your time. And everyone who's here on KNOTFEST watching She's of the Band, we're here every other week. Subscribe, follow, leave us a review, leave us nice comments only. And we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.